Hi everybody, this is Tim Bost with FinancialCyclesWeekly.com, and we've got an unusual phenomenon going on right now that we're calling the Retrograde Parade. What's happening right now is that we are in the midst of a series of 3 retrograde periods by some of the fast-moving planets. Starting on December 21st, 2013, we had Venus going into retrograde motion, and that continued through January 31st of 2014. And then just a few days later, on February 6th, 2014, we had Mercury go into retrograde motion as well. Now, as we make this video, Mercury is still in retrograde motion. It'll stay that way until February 28th, 2014. And then the day after that, on March 1st, 2014, we'll have Mars going into retrograde motion to complete this series of 3 planets. Mars will stay in retrograde motion, by the way, through May 19th, a very important period of time for the Mars cycle. So we have 3 retrograde periods back to back. This is an unusual phenomenon. We, of course, get Mercury retrograde periods about 3 times each year. Mars comes every other year. Venus is not quite as rare as that, but it's quite unusual to have 3 of these in a row like that. So the question is, what does all this mean for the markets? As astro traders, we pay a lot of attention to planetary retrogrades in general, and what we have discovered is that retrograde periods by these fast-moving planets will often create short-term counter trends in the markets. If the markets are going up, the counter trend may be down, or it could be sideways. If the markets are going down, we could get an uptrend or a sideways trend coming during these retrograde periods. So let's take a look at some examples of this. We have a chart here showing some of the Mercury retrograde periods for the past year, and also the coming series, or the current series of retrogrades that we're calling the Retrograde Parade. If we look here, we go back to June of 2013, we can see that Mercury went into retrograde motion on June 26th. Now, just prior to that, the market had been in a downtrend for several weeks with the S&P 500. That's what we're charting here with daily price bars. And we noticed that just a day or two prior to that Mercury station, as Mercury was beginning to slow down in its planetary movement, the market found a bottom and then turned into an uptrend fairly sharply then while Mercury remained in retrograde motion through the 30th of July in 2013. And then, of course, after that, there was an end to that uptrend as the market went into a congestion phase as Mercury turned back to direct motion. Then a little later in the year, on the 21st of October 2013, Mercury went retrograde again. Now, prior to that time, the market had been in a decided uptrend for several weeks, but that came to a fairly determined halt shortly after Mercury went retrograde. We got some sideways motion, some congestion in the market action, and some lateral movement through the markets that took the prices slightly higher, but essentially there was an end to the momentum of the upward phase that we had seen in the markets prior to that time. Then, of course, more recently, on the 21st of December 2013, we had Venus going into retrograde motion on that date. That happened to be the winter solstice as well. The market was in the midst of a year-end rally, which continued for a few trading days after Venus went retrograde. But, of course, during the month of January, we saw a lot of resistance in the markets. There was initially a congestion phase as prices flattened out, and then the sell-off began later in January. And so by the time Venus finished its retrograde period on January 31st, 2014, we had seen a decided drop in the markets. So we again got a short-term counter trend in place. Now, there was this period of a couple of days before the Mercury retrograde period began. What we saw happen then was a market bottom, and in fact we had the bottom of the market most recently here, the trading bottom the day before Mercury went retrograde. And once again, we've seen a reversal in market trend with Mercury heading upward, with the markets heading upward as Mercury has been in retrograde motion since that time. So what we're looking for is a potential of another trend reversal as we end up February and begin March with Mars going retrograde. Of course, we'll wait and see how all that plays out, but as astro traders, we do pay close attention to these retrograde periods. So pay attention to the retrogrades from Mercury, Mars, Venus, and the other planetary retrograde periods as well, and you can gain some insights which can turn into trading profits for you. Now, we encourage you to drop by FinancialCyclesWeekly.com. You can sign up there for our free Astro Traders Tip of the Week. Once a week, we share with you information that will help you enjoy the astro trading advantage in your own trading. This is Tim Bost with FinancialCyclesWeekly.com. Thanks so much for taking time to watch today.